It is a delight to have you on our program one more time on African Discourse on independent television. My name is Evan Sunukugi. On the program today, we are going to be looking at ECOWAS at 50. That was the story some few days ago, whereby we saw some heads of states in Africa, West Africa to be precise, coming together in Lagos to celebrate ECOWAS, the economic bloc in West Africa at 50. And of course, you know that when we talk about the story of ECOWAS, we look at a bloc that started on the 20th day of May 1975. So it was only expedient that on the 20th day of May 2005, that heads of various states in West Africa have to come together to recognize the economic bloc at 50. So what we're going to be looking at today majorly is to see the challenges and of course the prospect that lies ahead of ECOWAS as an economic bloc. Well, to discuss all this today, we are so privileged to have two gentlemen here. First and foremost on set this afternoon, we have a one-time vice chairman of Igor Local Government Council, and of course one-time chairman of Igor Local Government Council. We're talking about Honorable Desmond Ogbo. Honorable Desmond Ogbo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, my brother Evans.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
And also via Zoom, we have a business entrepreneur and of course a public affairs analyst. Henry Eriomachiale is also joining us via Zoom from Benin. Mr. Henry, you're welcome to the program. Okay. All right, so we're going to have more of his sound later on. All right, so we'll just start from Honorable Desmond Ogbo, talking about ECOWAS at 50, the journey so far 50 years ago. Now we've seen various ups and downs of ECOWAS, and most recent of it all, the one that even resulted into about 3 to 4 countries leaving the bloc, as a result of military taking over those countries and all that. Now, let us, try to do a kind of a background check on ECOWAS for the past 50 years. What would you say about the economic bloc in the last 50 years?
Thank you, my brother. ECOWAS as a regional bloc has came well over 50 years ago. I recall that it was actually on the 28th of May 1975 that the treaty was signed in Lagos. 2 years later, Cape Verde joined the bloc, making it about 16 countries as a body. And in all of these years of cohabitation, we've seen a lot of challenges, a lot of prospect as well, because you cannot tell me that a group of countries with sovereign nationalities for about 50 years who have cohabited have not achieved all this. But along the line, based on those things that united them as a union, as a body, a lot of countries have violated them. And in all these years, we've seen a lot of prospects. I recall the famous ECOMOG was bettered along the line of some countries trying to do that which is not included in the treaty that was signed. And in the quest to ensure that there is democratic government in the sub-region, there are risen heads of state coming together to say, let us have a defense to assist nations within the sub-region to ensure there is that democratic governance succeeding from one government to another. We saw how Sierra Leone was embroiled in internal crisis. ECOWAS came in. We saw specifically when ECOMOG came into force. It was in Liberia where the nations that formed the ECOWAS came in support to assist Liberia to come out from that crisis. Within 2 months, between January and February, they liberated the country, safeguarded their sovereignty, and gave them back that country. recall that you saw when Samuel Doe was in a Hem of Affair, how along the line he came over to Nigeria, Surrender, and all these are now history. A lot of countries within sub-region have attempted to do that, which is not included in the treaty. And we have also saw some countries within the sub-region behaving themselves. Now, just recently, the 4 countries that the military juntas toppled their government, which negate the very treaty that these 16 countries came together to say, let us foster unity, let us engender democracy, let's ensure that we have regional peace, let there be security, let there be economic liberation. I think the ECOWAS was anchored on economic prosperity, wherein they have harnessed their prospect in terms of what can be harnessed for economic prosperity within the sub-region, what they can bring together to prosper member states, as it were. Taking a comparative analysis of what ECOWAS has done and what they have also failed to do in comparison to what we are seeing in Western countries like the EU, I think you will deduce the fact that ECOWAS has tried, but they are not there yet.
They're still lacking behind.
They are still lacking behind. Because a lot is there to have been harnessed for the betterment of the citizens within this sub-region. ECOWAS is just about 5.7 million kilometer landmass. With about a prospect of about 734.6 GDP. And we have a lot of economic viability in terms of livestock, agricultural goods, artisan, craft items, a lot of things. But how far have we been able to maximize the potentials of this region for the economic well-being of the citizens of this region?
Okay, beautiful. Now,
it's a big question.
I'll pause you there. Well, I think we should be able to have Mr. Henry Eriomokali now join us via Zoom from Benin. Mr. Henry, if you're there, good afternoon, Mr. Henry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Evans. How do you do today?
Okay, I'm fine. Nice to have you on the program. So we are looking at
ECOWAS. Happy New Month and a Happy New Day.
Yeah, Happy New Month to you too. Now, we're looking at ECOWAS at 50, and of course, we saw that coming to bear a few days ago in Lagos, whereby some heads of states are coming together to mark that event. And on that event, we saw former military head of states, General Gowon retired, who was incidentally the head of state of Nigeria, 50 years ago when ECOWAS was established in Lagos. Now, what is your own story? Looking at ECOWAS 50 years down the drain.
I think, good afternoon, viewers and listeners at home. I think 50 years is a landmark. It's a milestone that the union has survived. They have had their ups and downs, they have had their challenges. But one would say 50 years so far so good, though there are some laps here and there which could have been addressed if the leaders were sincere to themselves. But we still have made some achievements. Like Bo have said, some achievements have been made over these 50 years, but there's still room for improvement. There's still room for improvement. We have about 42 or so countries coming together in Africa, and we have this union coming together. I think that the area we have not been able to harness our potentials over these 50 years. Otherwise, I think ECOWAS and the ECOWAS nations would have achieved much more than we have achieved at the moment if there is sincerity of purpose and we're able to harmonize and harness these are purposes. I think we would have been better, far better than where we are today. I think that is just, but to say, so far so good, but we would have done better if we have come together and work with a common purpose. We would have been better than where we are today.
Okay, all right. So, Desmond, we're going to continue from where Henry Adiman stopped. Now, working together with a common purpose. Now, at that, ceremony a few days ago in Lagos, we saw whereby General Gowon retired, whereby he even alluded to the fact that personal ambition seems to have been the problem of ECOWAS in the last 50 years. And he also made records to how it started when he was head of state, of Nigeria then. And of course, he also brought up the issue of ECOMONG as a special peacekeeping mission of the ECOWAS. And that seems to have been one of the greatest achievements of ECOWAS in the last 50 years. But let us look at what seems to have been an issue now. Now, analysts will say that ECOWAS seems to have been more with member states, ECOWAS of states, rather than ECOWAS of the people. I don't know what you may have to say to that, because a while ago you were trying to look at the vast, area of potentials that lies
within the region,
within the member states, among individuals, among citizens of member states of this bloc.
Now, talking about member states having kind of egocentric interest as far as the bloc is concerned, it is truism, because take a look at the ECO, the common currency that has since been delayed to come to reality.
Which is still very,
you understand? Now, looking at EU, when EU came together, they agreed to actuate a common currency for the region, which is now being used.
The euros.
The euro.
Yeah.
But ECO, at a point, they were trying to come out with a name for a common currency. Some were saying Wawa, some say ECO. Now they have agreed for ECO. How far have we gone with the realization of that common currency, ECO? When we discover that even among the member states, there are people who are frustrating the implementation, not because of their economic strength, but because of their weakness as a nation. Now, you just make sure that about 4 countries now have 3 have withdrew on the 29th of January this year. They have officially withdrew from being a member.
Their own bloc, the Sahel.
Yes, they even set up their own bloc, the Alliance of Sahel
Nations,
states, which negates the very formation of this body. At the time, these countries were sanctioned, they were suspended. But when they look at the trajectory that they were going, the headship of the ECOWAS now relaxed the suspension and the sanction as well, owing to humanitarian ground, and say, okay, let us see if they can, show remorse. They will set up a monitoring group or a kind of interface body to relate with them and see to how they can reconsider their plans, all to no avail. And we now discover that these people are head-bent. Like they said, that the best form, the worst form of military, the best form of military regime is worse when it comes to democratic governance. So I think for me, I believe that the self-interest of some member states has negated the prospects of this body. And now the very thing that people are thinking about the achievements, or rather the pitfalls of this ECOWAS, is because the military in some member states appear to be much stronger than the democratic practice in those countries. And now the democracy in some African states, so this ECOWAS of a bloc, appear to be more weaker than the other. The reason why you see those who appear to be ahead of the others now calling themselves champions. Until we deepen our democracy region-wise, we will continue to lag behind.
The bloc will continue to lag behind.
Of course, the bloc will continue to lag behind, because what is important is that let there be democracy at full flesh. If those in the hem of Africa, because we've seen some presidents having completed their tenure, election was conducted, they will fail to hand over power democratically to another. But even when the independent electoral body has announced the
winner of the election, and some people decide to stay for
that is where even it happens in Gambia, where they now organize a body called ECOWAS mission in Gambia, to ensure that the winner is given the mandate to rule the people. So, if not because of the selfish interest of those who have occupied position and failed to relinquish same position to the people, even when the people have spoken through the ballot, the coming of military wouldn't have come.
Okay, let me pause you now. Henry Eremkali, now you're going to take it up from there, because we are looking at a situation whereby, just as Desmond Wo was trying to, say, one of the recent developments is the leaving of 3-4 countries from the bloc, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, leaving the economic bloc because of military junta taking over those countries. And of course, we saw the sanctions that followed. Now, as it stands now, the chairman of ECOWAS is our own President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, for most analysts, they are of the opinion that there seems to be some form of weakness in the leadership of ECOWAS as it stands now. I mean, what would you make of a situation whereby member states that are not supposed to be military in any form, now they are military, and of course they left, sanctions were meted out to them, then still trying to call them back and all that. Now, are we trying to look at a situation whereby at the end of the day we'll have a collaboration of democratically elected leadership of states and also military junta of states in the ECOWAS? I wanted to speak along that line.
Yeah, Mr. Evans, the songwriter once wrote and sang, let's not ask for peace, but let's ask for justice. Because when there is justice, obviously there will be peace. But when you are pursuing peace in the absence of justice, then your effort will be in futility. Like these member states that have decided to pull out of the bloc, we'll find out what has been their reason. Like Mr. Obama just said a while ago.
Mr. Ugbo, Honorable
like he went into what I wanted to add. Honorable Bo. Yeah. So, if the ECOWAS, the bloc, they have a set rule there, they have told themselves, let's do what is right. We're having crisis because our leaders fail to do what is right. If we have set down the rules of our nation, of our country as it were, and you said that you have a maximum of 8 years or 10 years to stay in office, and after you have been elected and suddenly realize that you are the Mr. Know-it-all alone, you are the one who has the power to address the issues of your nation, that no else has the idea or has the willpower to do what is right, and you are the only one that knowledge begins and ends with you. That is where the problem. The ECOWAS bloc on its own should have put the machinery in place to ensure that any nation that wants to midway the agreement, like one of our popular ministers will say, agreement is agreement. And you want to breach the agreement that that have been said and that brought you to power, then how do we sanction such people? If you find out this Sahel nation, these nations are they pulling out? Because we have these sit-tight leaders who say that we cannot play according to the rules. That is where the problem is. If you have a mandate to stay.
All right. It appears we're having some audio issues there from Harry Riavokali's connection.
So find out. Together.
All right. So
are we together?
Yeah, we're together. I can hear you. Mr. Henry, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. If the ECOWAS bloc doesn't have the willpower to sanction any leader that has the mind of sitting tight in power, therefore, they should whatever to ECOWAS of overthrowing or by way of revolt, then we should take it the way we see it. I believe that ECOWAS on its own have not put a measure in place to sanction their members, to ensure members follow the rule as it is set down. Once that one is done, I can tell you, you will not have people who are protected. Find out the nation that we're having countries, the countries that are having military coming to forcefully take power. Those are nations that where you have leaders who say that we cannot live at the time we're supposed to live.
Okay. All right, beautiful. Now, Honorable Desmond, now, at the risk of not trying to praise the three nations that left the ECOWAS, I mean, somebody said heavens won't fall. I mean, the British left the EU, heaven did not fall, and of course the EU, stood and all that. Now, talking about sanctioning these three nations now, we're looking at nations that, I mean, some of the nations are even gaining the praises of people now. Burkina Faso is gaining the praises of people. And we're talking about sanctioning, that ECOWAS should have a stiffer ways of sanctioning member states. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at a situation whereby we're talking about sanctioning, the states that left, that are already gaining grounds in terms of popularity with the people?
I think the three countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, have formed their own regional bloc.
And they are gaining popularity.
Alliance
popularity
of Sahel
states. Yeah.
The reason is because most of the ECOWAS countries, member states, have failed to really practicalize what is called democracy. You know, this tightening amongst our brothers in Africa has really been a bane in the engendering of democracy as a means of government in this country, in these countries in question. So I think if, as Burkina Faso is gradually gaining popularity and people are also condemning the advent of military juntas in government, if we just our position, what has been the behavior of those in power who came in democratically and the coming of juntas to take over power, you will see that though democracy is the best form of government,
Yeah.
but that is not to say that those who are already practicing democracy should behave as if they don't like democracy. Just to put it that way. However, the enforcement mechanism of punitive measures against member states is very weak as far as this regional bloc is concerned. If you compare it with EU, for example, you will see that once you err, once you violate any of the sections of the treaty, you should know, you don't need to be told. Member states will come together and met that punishment on you. Now we are talking about free trade within the region. How free is our trade? How free is our movement? Now the movement we are witnessing is heightening insecurity, is heightening extremism, where some people who are exposed to all types and kinds of intoxicants wants to move and perpetuate that crime and criminality in another region. To whose detriment? All these are certain things that is negating the prospect of ECOWAS as a bloc.
Okay. So, all right, so we'll take a short pause now. Don't forget the program is still African Discourse on independent television. All right, thank you one more time. The program is still right here on independent television, African Discourse. And today we are looking at the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS at 50. And of course, we're also discussing the challenges and the prospects and the expectations that lies ahead. Now, we still have Honorable Desmond Ugbo on set, and also Mr. Henry Ariel Michale is also there, a business expert, a public affairs analyst, also joining us. Now, Mr. Henry, I'll come to you. Now, Honorable Desmond Ugbo was trying to make case for stiffer punitive measures, maybe to kind of allay or maybe to warn prospective area members of the bloc now. You know, I mean, these three nations, they have gone, and from the look of things, it may take a very long time before they can even return back to the bloc. But we are looking at a situation whereby we also need to exercise caution, even as we try to suggest these stiffer punitive measures. Because I remember when the sanctions was on, as little as onion became automatically expensive, you know, in our markets in Nigeria. Reason because the federal government laid sanction that things should not be imported from Niger into the country. I mean, more than 80% of the onion that we consume in Nigeria is from Niger. So we now saw a situation that member states that didn't have anything to do with the sanction, they started suffering just for no reason. So when we are talking about punitive measures, what exactly are we looking at? How do we spell out the punitive measures this time so that it won't have adverse effects on other member states? That's my question.
Okay, Mr. Evans, when we are talking about punitive measures, at the point ECOWAS was established, I believe there was a treaty, there was an agreement, there were laid down rules, policies, principles, how things should be run in ECOWAS. From the very moment you deviate from those set down rules, means ECOWAS is bound not to succeed. If the founding fathers, in their own wisdom, have seen that we need to work together as a bloc, we need to work together as a people, we need to work together as a community. And I say for us to be able to do this, there are laid down principles, there are laid down rules, there are laid down guidelines that will help us to achieve our set goals. The moment we renege or deviate from these set down rules and regulations, it therefore means that we cannot achieve our common purpose. Then at the beginning, it should equally have been said, yeah, okay, anyone that is found one thing violating these set down rules and regulations, then such and such a punishment must be meted out. Then we should equally know we're talking about the effect or the impact that will have on other neighboring or other member states. You know, it's like when you can't eat your cake and have it. But because we live together, we don't live in isolation. What negatively affects one, they have a way of spilling over to affect others. It's just like when you have a weak claw in one of your fingers. Obviously, it will affect the entire body system. So in like manner, in the same way, if one nation is sanctioned, definitely they have a way that is going to affect other nations. So for that one to be avoided, the leaders must have to first of all tell themselves the truth. And what is the truth that we must tell ourselves? The truth we must tell ourselves that whatever position we are occupying it and holding it in trust of the people that we are leading. Once you deviate from that trust, fulfilling the trust for which your people elected you, it therefore means that whatever you are doing is self-serving. Anything that will amount to self-serving, we have a way that we are part negatively for those that live around. So there is no way punitive measure can be meted out that will not affect member nations. In one way or other, in economically, socially. But is to tell our leaders, we that are sitting, tell ourselves the truth, that for us to lead our people and for ECOWAS to achieve a set objectives, when we on our own that are holding the position in trust, that we must hold it in trust for the people that have elected us. So anything short of that, what we are having in the Sahel region will continue to rear its ugly head.
Okay. All right. So quickly, before we look at security-wise, because some analysts are of the opinion that the weakness of ECOWAS has also resulted into the security issues we're having in this block region. Yeah. Now let us look at. Yeah. I'll come to you, Mr. Henry Ariamukhale. Now, Honorable Desmond. Now let's look at what you hinted upon a while ago. Talking about a single currency for ECOWAS, the ECO. Now, you and I know that the dollar, the pound sterling, and of course the euro has taken over global markets. Whether we like it or not, it has come to stay. Little wonder if this is a deliberate attempt or is a weakness, maybe for ECOWAS. If it is a weakness for ECOWAS now, what do you think the bloc should begin to think of doing so that their own single currency, can really come to stay? As a matter of fact, apart from maybe the ECOWAS passport, that seems to be only one means of identification among member states. Hardly, for me, I cannot even remember if we even have a single currency. But by the virtue of the fact that I've been privileged to have a passport, the ECOWAS passport, so I know that, okay, this is the ECOWAS passport. So the question I'm asking is, what should we do so that we should begin to revive our own, so that we can actually have a single currency, the ECO? So that it can even maybe phase out the dollar, phase out the pound sterling, and if not the euro.
Now, the other regional bloc, like the AU, is another hindrance
on ECOWAS.
On ECOWAS.
Really?
I
was thinking the AU ought to be a bigger umbrella.
Of course, for Africa.
Yeah.
But the ECOWAS as a sub-region, they have a lot of potentials that they fail to harness for their own advantage. And if you look at what can be gotten from the member states in terms of economic viability, building a strong institution becomes the next to sustain these potentials. If the member states can build a strong institution, not a strong leader.
How do we do that?
Now, the best way to do that is to practice the letters of democracy, as it were. Because the way democracy is being practiced in Nigeria appeared not to be the same as it is in other West Africa states. The main two countries that are driving ECOWAS is Nigeria and Ghana. Nigeria and Ghana.
Economically?
Economically. Talks about strong leadership. For all that they have achieved, it is when Nigeria or Ghana is in the hem that have attracted all that have been achieved.
Oh, really?
Go and look at the historical achievements of ECOWAS. Now, not to say that others are not as important as Nigeria and Ghana, but we need to build institutions within this sub-region to minimize the agitation for military intervention in government. Because what attracted the military juntas to come to interfere in government is because of the sectarianism amongst our leaders within these countries that are affected, And because of their failure to deliver on their electionary promises, I know there are complexities when it comes to governance. It's not the way you look at it from outside. That is the way it is when you are actually there. But you must be seen to be delivering substantially on those things that you promise the people, undermining that we also have citizens being a clog in the wheel of democratic dividends.
Progress.
So I think what the leaders of this sub-region should do is firstly consolidate on the agreement, making sure that they streamline the terms, undermining the fact that sovereignty has also become a problem
Of individual states.
Yeah. Because when you say, I am in Nigeria, other country is coming to now tell me what we know when the tiers of government have agreed that we should do it this way. They must streamline it, redefine governance.
In other words,
to have a common ground as it is obtainable in other clime. If not, we'll continue to have this hit task. Now, the leaders of this sub-region, they have one thing to do. And that thing is making sure that they harmonize their constitution in terms of the term a leader should spend in an office.
Yeah. I mean, it should be democratic in
You
nature.
understand?
Yeah.
Now, we are talking about free trade zone
Yeah.
in the sub-region. Is it really free? When we have proliferation of border checkpoints. I know because of the illicit trade that is currently going on within the sub-region that actuated this proliferation of checkpoints.
Yes.
But
Right.
it has to be harmonized and streamlined.
Let me pause you so that I'll bring Henry Remakale in. Now, still talking about the issue of the free trade zone. One major thing that has affected the free trade zone in this block is the issue of insecurity. Now, I don't know whether to start talking or to start making a case for Ibrahim Traore, that's the head of the military junta in Burkina Faso. Whether I would like it or not, that young guy seems to be in control of a model, as it stands now. I mean, just some few weeks ago, we saw how more than 1,000 Boko Haram insurgents, with just a single snap, they were, sniffed out and all that. Now, don't we think that at this juncture, that perhaps ECOWAS has something to learn from this model? Because the issue of insecurity is tearing, and of course, it's eating the bloc apart. As it stands now, within this West African sub-region, issue of insecurity is a major problem, is a big problem. And of course, it's eating into our economy. Mr. Henry Adima.
Yeah, and on the issue of insecurity, I tell you one fact. That's why the issue of insecurity has lingered this long, because of lack of political will. Lack of political will. We have vested interest, and some people are making a hell of money out of insecurity. As a matter of fact, one said that people make money out of crisis. If what we read on social media is anything to go by, I think there was a local government chairman that was confronting, allegedly, the army when their community was overrun by the suspected Fulani militias. And the man said that he hasn't gotten a directive to clear them out. That he was waiting for directive from superior before he would act. Interest. Lack of political will to act. Like Honorable said a while ago, why not act ourselves? The EU, why have they made so much impact and retaining their own sovereignty? They have not ceded their sovereignty to anybody, but the EU is as formidable as any other thing. Why can't we, why haven't we, I mean the ECOWAS now, copy the template from the EU what is making EU as successful as they are, so that we can implement it in ECOWAS, is still vested on interest. The lack of political will for us to take certain actions where we need to take certain actions. I'm just asking, are we waiting till everybody is wiped out? Name this issue of insecurity on the board. Because the way the insecurity is actually getting to us, a time is coming, God forbid, that we are going to be overrun by this militia. And by then it would have been too late for us to act. I want to call on our leaders in the region, irrespective of the nation that is concerned, for us to forget about our political affiliation, for us to get about our regional affiliation, for us to get about our tribal affiliation, and get rid of this menace that is staring before us, very much on our faces. And like I said earlier on, if nothing urgently is done, if nothing that we need to do now to nip this thing and to get this thing eroded, I'm afraid that we will not get the general response.
Okay. All right. So I talked about the Ibrahim Traore's model, the head of the military junta in Burkina Faso.
Yes, Traore model. Yeah, that's what I talked about, the political will. The guy has the political will to act, and that is why it's acting the way it's.
Well, it's military.
And you can see how his people are rallying around him. No, he is military. But even those of us that are politicians, we have military. Is to give a directive to the military to do the needful. I just gave you an example of what I did on social media. I don't know how correct it is. Why the army is saying that we are having a directive from our leaders to act. That is why they have not acted, because of the political interest. At times we are afraid. We don't want to act because of what it might cost us politically if we take certain actions. Depending on the tribe, depending on the religion, that this action may affect, then what implication will it have on my political relevance? Because of that, the person might withhold the action, the directive that we need to give, that would have addressed that issue. But like Traore, you can see he had the political will, and he knows that that is what his people needed at this particular time, and he's giving to them the way they want it. Okay. And he's getting all the applause. He's getting all the support from his people that is leading. And you can see how people are saying we want to rise and support this our leader, because this is what we needed from our political leaders that they didn't give to us. It doesn't matter how we get it, but the most important is that we have gotten what we wanted, and they are getting what they want. So it doesn't matter how it comes.
Okay.
It comes all the same. All
right. Now, beautiful. Now, as we commence our descent now, let me come to Honorable Desmond. Now, we must speak to the issue now, because for some people, our president is the chairman of ECOWAS, and for them, they see the very posture of our president, his inability to put ECOWAS together, his inability to put the bloc together. I mean, under his leadership, about 3-4 nations have pulled apart. A while ago, you talked about the greatest achievement that ECOWAS has made so far has been during the era of Nigerian, president being a chairman. But now we have the Nigerian president as the chairman. And of course, 3 nations pulling apart from the bloc. So what do you have to say about that?
Recall that in 2007, the ECOWAS has renewed the status to a commission, where we have a president, a vice president, auditor general, and so many other positions.
Yeah, but the position of the chairman
now the position of the chairman, let me tell you, there are diplomatic implications to how our president has been mediating over these issues. The sanctions were applied. So these countries were suspended, and at the time, these people threatened around last year, January 28, that by January this year, they will secede from the bloc.
And of which they did.
And now, you just mentioned that the prices of onions now skyrocketed as a result of the
sanction.
Do you know the ECOWAS as a state, we have comparative advantage over the production of one goose and the other. Nobody is an island. what we can produce is not what you can produce. But we all depend on one another for survival economically. Now, when the president, in conjunction with all his cabinet, now look at the implication this will cause on the citizens, over millions of citizens within the sub-region, they reconsider the realization of that sanction. Despite the realization of this sanction, these people were head bent because they formed the alliance of Sahel states. And they have even gone far to make it a bloc. Now also win some other countries to come and join.
Exactly where I'm going to. I remember when we had the likes of
when you talk about the president is being weak, it's not weak.
No,
it's not weakness.
So I said the insinuations that seems to be going around.
It's just an insinuation, because if you are in charge, if you are in the head, you have to be very diplomatic. Now he has adopted the measure of reaching out for them to come back. Are you aware that Guinea was also part of them? They were also suspended. But because of the leadership there, who felt they cannot succeed for just because they want to succeed. Military, like I told you before, is not the best form of government. The reason why military take decisive action, regardless of whose horse is God, is because they don't have political inclination. This Traore is taking decisions, dealing with people without looking at faces. Is because...
Is it dealing with the people or dealing with the issues, the problems in Burkina Faso?
You know, we have different folk with different stroke. The people that he dealt with will say that he's dealing with them.
Yeah.
He cannot be all right. There are some areas he might be getting it wrong. But let me say, the man is doing it well because the people are supporting him. Because the president, or rather the leader before him, has done bad. That is the reason why he's getting the accolades from every corner.
Yeah.
But however, he should set transition in place within a specific period of time to return government to democracy. Because the military government is not known, it's not popular as far as the global governance is concerned. So I think what he should do, if he can transmute himself to a democratically elected government, so be it.
Okay. All right.
But
so
holding sway as a military government and expect to be popular more than his region is a nullity.
Okay. All right. So I think I will just take the last 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds from Henry Eremokhale on this, seeming posture of the chairman of ECOWAS. What people say now is his inability to pull ECOWAS together. The cohesion that seems that ECOWAS seems to be lacking. Quickly. Are you still there, sir?
Why Traore is acting the way it's acting, because he doesn't have any political, thing at stake. Unlike when you have it democratically elected. The democratically elected, before they take certain action, they look at will it have on me if I take it this way. Is it going to affect my political
re-election?
If it will, then he reneges of decision, not minding what I would have done. Then again, you see, ECOWAS missed it. The leadership of ECOWAS missed it at the point that they sanctioned this country. Because when they knew, they have not ab initio that they don't have the power. They don't have power to drive their stance. Then there wasn't any need for them to have threatened that they were going to XYZ when they knew from the beginning that they don't have the power to do it. So by the time it dawned on them that we don't have the power to do it, and then they reneged, they now came back and said, okay, we are lifting the sanction. Then the Sahel already knew from the beginning that they don't have the power to bite. So they were just bragging. And that is why they are taking the stand that they are taking. But I just pray that at the end of the day that ECOWAS will be able to sit back and go back to the drawing board and look at what is the view of the opinion of the founding fathers. What was the objective of the founding fathers? And tell them how to put this objective through so that we can have ECOWAS back on its feet as it was from the early days of the go.
Okay. Well, this weird time will permit us today to take on the program African Discourse. I want to say a very big thank you to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you
for finding time
thank
to
you
come
for
on the
having
show
me
today. And also a very big thank you there to Henry
Yes,
Eremokale,
my handshake from this
entrepreneur.
side.
Yeah, also from B2, a business expert and also a public affairs analyst. Now, 50 years down the drain, we've seen that ECOWAS has a lot of things to do, and there are also a lot of challenges. And above it all, one of the greatest challenges is the issue of insecurity that seems to have bedeviled the block all this year. So what we just hope and pray that all this will be a thing of the past. All right, so we'll draw the curtain today on the program African Discourse until the same time next week on the same program. My name is Evan Sunokuge. Goodbye and God bless you.